They registered the ink on her forearm, and their eyes glazed over with contempt. A butterfly. At a Tier 1 forward operating base. It had to be a joke, but they didn't comprehend what it meant or the blood it was bought with. Not yet. Before this operation goes any further, I need to know its global reach. Report your location in the comments below. They saw her as just a clerk, a woman with a pretty face and an absurd tattoo, until a SEAL Master Chief walked in, caught a glimpse of her forearm, and without a flicker of hesitation, snapped a salute that silenced the entire room. The sun beat down on the blistering tarmac at Camp Hawthorne, a U.S. military installation stationed deep in the unforgiving sands of Djibouti. Rows of Humvees sat baking in the oppressive heat. Marines marched in formation, their shouts cutting through the shimmering air. And in the background, moving unnoticed between armored giants, was a woman in tan fatigues, sleeves rolled high, a clipboard in her hand. Private First Class Eliza Steel, 28 years old, Logistics Division. She was the kind of soldier engineered to be invisible. Her boots were meticulously polished, her reports were flawless, and her voice was soft but direct. She carried no weapon. She was stationed nowhere near the wire. And aside from one small, visible detail, an intricately inked butterfly tattoo just above her right wrist, she was a ghost in the machine. That tattoo made her a target for the base's undercurrent of bored, arrogant masculinity. "She's got a butterfly on her arm," one of the infantry grunts muttered loud enough for everyone on the chow line to hear. "What's she gonna do, flutter at the enemy?" A ripple of cruel laughter followed. Eliza ignored it. She always did. She moved through Camp Hawthorne like a phantom, well-liked by the supply officers who depended on her efficiency, invisible to the brass who never looked past her rank, and considered utterly forgettable by the Tier 1 operators who used her department for critical resupply. SEALs, Green Berets, Delta, they all passed her by without a second glance, their eyes scanning for threats and seeing none in the quiet woman who handed them their ammunition and rations. That all changed on a Tuesday. It was supposed to be another routine requisition pickup. A blacked-out convoy, coated in dust and authority, rolled onto the base. 6 figures disembarked, all in tactical gear, bearded, scarred, and silent. They were Tier 1 types, the kind of men who spoke with their eyes and made the walls of any room feel smaller just by entering. Eliza was standing at the rear supply desk when they approached. The lead SEAL, a mountain of a man with a chest full of commendations, looked her up and down. "You the clerk?" he grunted, his voice gravelly with impatience. "I'm the logistics officer of record," she replied, her gaze unwavering. He smirked, a flash of white teeth in a weathered face. "Didn't ask for your resume?" "Butterfly." One of the younger operators behind him chuckled. "Man, I've seen more muscle on a Starbucks barista." Still, Eliza handed them the signed-off crate, the serial tag intact and perfectly aligned. Her posture remained rigid. Her expression stayed locked, a mask of professional calm. But then, the atmosphere in the room shifted, the air growing heavy and still. The last man entered. He was older than the others, with white hair at his temples and eyes like scorched iron. The stripes on his shoulder were subdued, but his authority radiated off him in waves. He was a master chief, a living legend. He froze the moment he saw her. No, not her. Her tattoo. The room went dead silent. The Master Chief straightened his back, his eyes locked on her forearm. He blinked once, then slowly, deliberately, raised his hand in a formal, unwavering salute. The other SEALs stared, their jaws slack with confusion. "Sir," one of them started, his voice a hesitant whisper. But the Master Chief didn't break his gaze. He didn't drop his salute. He held it, a silent, powerful testament to a truth they couldn't comprehend. Eliza hesitated for a single, fractional beat, then returned the salute, her own form perfect. "Permission to speak freely, ma'am?" the Master Chief asked, his voice low and laced with a profound respect that defied her rank. She gave a single, sharp nod. He leaned in, and so that only she could hear, whispered a single word, a mission code name from a ghost story. Velasquez. Every muscle in the room tightened. The operators who had been mocking her just seconds before now stood frozen, their eyes wide with disbelief as they stared at the butterfly tattoo. It wasn't just a design. It was a symbol, a coded sigil, issued only to the members of a top-secret joint operation that had gone completely off books 5 years ago. Operation Velasquez had left 23 of America's finest operators unaccounted for. All KIA presumed. Eliza Steel was supposed to be one of them. How are you still active?" the young SEAL stammered, all sarcasm erased from his voice, replaced by a tone of pure awe. But Eliza didn't answer. She was already walking back toward the warehouse, her job done. The Master Chief remained standing, his eyes still locked on the corridor she disappeared into. "She's not just active," he muttered to his stunned men. "She's the reason any of us are alive." The rest of the operators didn't laugh anymore. They just stood there in the suffocating silence, the weight of their own ignorance pressing down on them. The next morning came like a slap to the face. Eliza Steel arrived at the mess hall at 0500 sharp. Still in standard fatigues, still carrying the weight of every pair of eyes that were now glued to her. The jokes hadn't died. They had mutated into a virus of speculation and scorn. Someone had printed a blurry snapshot of her tattoo and taped it to the entrance with the word "poser" scrawled in red marker. A few recruits, emboldened by the display, laughed loud enough to make sure she heard. She didn't flinch, didn't slow her pace, didn't say a single word. She walked to the chow line, got her standard eggs and black coffee, and sat at the very edge of the dining area, alone, facing the wall. It would have been another day of silent endurance, if not for the 2 officers who entered 5 minutes later. Lieutenant Sandoval and Major Rikers, both career soldiers, both infamous for their unforgiving nature towards anyone they felt hadn't earned their place. They saw the tattoo photo and snickered. Then Sandoval, a man whose arrogance was matched only by his ambition, said, not quietly, "Looks like her tattoo has more clearance than her IQ." A burst of sycophantic laughter followed. Eliza placed her fork down slowly, deliberately. Major Rikers, a thick-necked SEAL with 2 decades of service, approached her table, tapping the laminated photo with his index finger. "This you?" he asked, his voice booming across the suddenly quiet hall. Emma didn't respond. He stepped closer, invading her personal space. "You think putting that emblem on your skin makes you a ghost? Does it make you one of them? You're wearing a history you didn't earn." Still, she said nothing. Sandoval leaned in, his voice dripping with condescension. "Let me guess. Your boyfriend was a SEAL. You stole the design from his jacket while he slept." Eliza looked up, and for the first time, she met their gaze. Her eyes were clear, steady, and utterly calm. "No," she said, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. "But my CO wore it on his chest the day we breached a compound in Nuristan. I was 3rd in." Rikers froze. "What did you say?" Eliza stood slowly, her back ramrod straight, her tray untouched. "You've had your laugh. Now let me speak with someone who knows what that emblem means." And for the first time, since her arrival at Camp Hawthorne, she marched straight down the middle of the mess hall. Every soldier's fork paused mid-air. She didn't break stride until she reached the door marked Operations. She knocked once. A voice inside, rough and direct, called out, "Enter." Colonel Dean Marcus, a man with salt and pepper hair and a silver seal trident seared into the fabric above his heart, looked up from his desk as she stepped in. "Private Steel, sir," she said, her voice crisp. "Requesting permission to clarify my record." He gestured for her to speak. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded, worn piece of paper, and laid it on the desk. It was creased from years of being carried and stamped with multiple faded security seals. Marcus unfolded it and froze. The first line read, "Operation Harawat," redacted. Below it, Operative Code EMBER2, Role, Tier 1, Designated Marksman. Commanding Officer, Commander Declan Hoy, SEAL Team 6. Marcus blinked, his mind struggling to process the information. This can't be right." Eliza leaned in. "I was attached off books under SOCOM's Deep Vector program. I was the last operative out of Kandahar East when the compound was breached." The ink, she pulled back her sleeve to expose the full tattoo, revealing a black star encircled with coordinates hidden beneath the butterfly. "Is the Ember Code. Only 2 of us had it. The other is buried in Arlington." Marcus didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stood, walked around the desk, and with a look of profound respect, snapped a salute. Everyone in the adjacent hallway stopped moving. Through the open door, they saw it happen. Colonel Marcus, decorated hard as nails, the commanding officer of the entire base, saluting a private. Eliza returned the salute, crisp and exact. Then she turned and exited the office. The moment the mess hall saw her again, things had changed. Rikers and Sandoval were both silent, standing at attention near the coffee urn like children caught cheating. One soldier mumbled, "She's Ember too." Another whispered, "That op was a myth." Ghost protocol. Eliza walked past them all, past the wall where her photo had been. Someone had already torn it down. The silence she left behind was louder than all of their laughter combined. By noon, the entire base was buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. The mystery deepened when General Kavanaugh arrived on a Blackhawk, his arrival unannounced. He made a beeline for the colonel's office, and within minutes, Eliza was summoned. The general, a man who radiated authority, studied her for a long moment. "You're Steel?" "Yes, sir." He held up her clearance paper. "You know what this means?" "I do, sir." "Then you know what kind of trouble it brings when it surfaces." "I didn't reveal anything, sir. They mocked the tattoo. I didn't explain it until I was cornered." The general turned to Marcus. "She stays. Full access reinstated. And you let this base know. A single word spoken against her will result in a formal reprimand. Is that understood?" "Yes, General." He then turned back to Eliza. "Declan Hoy trusted you. He signed your Ember clearance himself. You saved 2 of my men that night, Steel. That makes this personal. You may not wear a trident, but you were deeper in the black than any of them. Don't ever forget that." "I haven't, sir." The Ember tattoo was no longer a joke. It was a living legend. But Eliza returned to her post at the southern gate, alone, alert, calm. Same boots, same uniform, same quiet stare toward the horizon. Because she wasn't there for recognition. She was there for the moment no one else expected. The moment the sirens blared and the enemy came from the sky. It was 0420 hours when the first boom shattered the morning stillness. The base jolted awake as comms crackled to life. "Possible breach on the northern side. No visual." Then the blackout hit. Every light on the eastern grid died. The one place that still had power. Checkpoint Echo, the southernmost gate, where Eliza Steel stood, rifle in hand. Her breath didn't quicken, her fingers didn't twitch. Far in the distance, something moved. Low, silent, wrong. 4 black-clad figures hit the ground running. No call signs, no flags. Eliza flicked the safety off her M4. No backup, no cameras, no command. Only her and them. The first intruder reached the outer fence and cut through it like paper. Eliza fired once. Center mass. He dropped instantly. 3 left. The second threw a flashbang. She closed her eyes, turned, counted to 3, then popped up. 2 more shots. One target spun sideways, the other went down, crawling. The last man bolted for cover. Eliza vaulted the barricade, her movements surgical, fluid, silent. By the time the final intruder reached the second checkpoint tower, she was already behind him. A single command stopped him. "On your knees!" He turned, raising his weapon. Too late. The shot was muffled, tight, exact. He collapsed. Minutes later, backup arrived to find chaos and confusion. When they reached Checkpoint Echo, they stopped cold. 4 neutralized targets on the ground, and one woman standing over them, her sleeve stained with blood that wasn't her own. Colonel Marcus was the first to approach. "Report!" he barked. "They bypassed radar. EMP drone over the northern sector. Landed here undetected. All neutralized." "Alone?" She nodded. General Kavanaugh appeared from behind them, his face pale. "That tattoo," he muttered. "It wasn't a warning. It's a seal." Intel later confirmed they were a rogue paramilitary strike team testing vulnerabilities. They never expected resistance, and certainly not from her. In the days that followed, Eliza Steel was offered medals, a promotion, and a reactivation of her Ember status with honors. She refused most of it, choosing to remain right where she was, at the edge of the base, guarding the place everyone forgot, until she reminded them why it mattered. And the tattoo? They don't laugh at it anymore. They salute it. Because now, when recruits see it as she walks by, they don't whisper, "Poser." They whisper, "That's Steel." And if you ask what the emblem means, they'll tell you it doesn't mark who she was. It marks who's still standing when everyone else is gone.